Okay, good. Okay, can you hear me okay on it? Okay, I think we can start. I'm not sure the quality. Hopefully they can hear you.
Is it? Yeah, is it cool if I
What's
send a
up?
link to some people who aren't in the Patreon, or is it super secret?
I mean, probably shouldn't. That's why people pay
All
for
right,
it.
cool.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure
we'll
if
get,
if later you want to just send them a link to the video while we're not, while it's not live, hey, I can't stop you, but ideally you wouldn't do that. Oh,
yeah,
just I'm talking to Matt at the same time. He said just let him. Okay, yeah, okay, you're allowed to. Matt's made a point. He's like, hey,
I don't wanna break the rules.
I mean, technically speaking, right? But I don't really care, to be honest, man. It's fine. So,
Yeah, cool.
we should start. Is there anyone watching? Probably no one's gonna watch anyway. So what's your name and stuff? Just start. Like, who are you, etc.
I'm Kleptomanta or Jared.
What was the first
I'm
one?
19.
Oh, Kleptomanta. Oh, I see. You said your avatar
Kleptomanta,
name.
yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Okay, go on.
I'm 19. I'm from New Zealand. Yeah. So I technically started doing MIA, which was AJAT at the time, a year ago. Except I'm extremely lazy, so I'm closer to like a sort of like 6 month of progress mark.
Okay.
If I had to like say what my progress was, and then I think I did like.
And
Some
how long
Japanese
has
on
it
and off
actually been again?
A year.
Okay, so that's not
Almost like
bad.
a
6 months
year.
progress within a year. It's not too bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's like super rough. Obviously, like it's hard to judge your own ability. But,
Cool.
um,
So where are you in the process now?
and sort of at like the very start of the monolingual transition, I'd say. Like I have like a couple of monolingual cards.
Okay, and how are you doing the
the most
monolingual transition?
Mostly through the deck you made.
Oh yeah, how does it work? Or how is it working? I should say, because I haven't actually used it, nor am I in close contact with people who are using it. So how is it working for you? Would you say?
I think it works fine. I'm not a very good test subject for it though, because I don't use Anki that much.
Yeah.
Like just in general, like I just continuously go through periods where like I'll use Anki for a week and then not do reps and then like fall off it and then back on. So like I don't have that many cards overall. So like once I did all the Morphman stuff, I only really got like 6 cards out of it. So it's, but yeah, like
Okay.
just because most of my knowledge isn't actually in Anki. So
Yeah. So you.
Because I'm a bad boy. It doesn't work that way.
Nah, it's all right. Hey, when I did
mean, it
Chinese
does work.
and stuff, like I slacked terribly, so it's fine. I mean, if what really matters realistically is if one doesn't stop in the long run, and I mean, a concerted effort is probably better, and in general, it's probably better than strive to get way more days in than you don't get in. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you keep going, I feel like you can still succeed. But a thing that I would say is like what so you're saying like 6 months in a year, but I'm curious, what does that exactly mean? Like in a month, what does that mean? For example, does that mean like you studied one day and then you didn't study another day?
That, like the only thing that really means is just that like when I was trying to figure out where I was, I looked at some other people's 6 months progress videos, like, oh yeah, that kind of sounds like where I'm at. Like, yeah.
Okay, but I mean, like, as far as like,
like,
you say that you've slacked off. So how have you slacked off? How do you know you're slacking off? What are you actually doing?
It's just that I'd like not immerse like nearly as much as I'd want to.
So how much would you actually do? How much did you do?
Uh, I mean, as of how much did I do?
Yeah,
And like
instead of like how
that for the
what you didn't
year?
do, tell me what you did do. Like I'm curious about what you did or what you are doing.
Oh, okay. So I mean, what I did do like throughout the year was just I mean for like the first or like RTK phase, like I was dumb and like only did passive, so like I didn't
Yeah.
get that much from that. And then after that, like I pretty much did what, yeah, you're supposed to do really, just immerse as much as you can.
What would your average? What
I
would you
mean
say?
that's what I
What's
tried
your
to do, but
what's your average daily immersion?
I think it would probably average out to like 1 or 2 hours. Um, but like
That's
but it
not
was a lot
necessarily
less of like
terrible. I mean, if you
yeah,
wanted
but
to fit into your lifestyle, I think that's you know what I mean. Like my guess is this is something that Matt and I've talked about, but it hasn't really been um, like made public too much. But my suspicion would be that regardless of how much you learn, it's probably still the best way to learn through an immersion approach, regardless. I mean, I would think the less you do, probably the more SRSing would probably help you. That's just, like a hunch more than anything. But I would say it's, you know, if you are actually consistently getting an hour or two, it's, I mean, some sort of progress will likely be being made. Like Matt said lately, he's studying Chinese, and I feel like I've seen some progress in his Chinese, although maybe just, you know, minor yet. But it feels like he's starting to understand stuff. It was because he was showing me himself studying Chinese the other day, and I thought he was making improvements. And I think he's doing something similar to you. Although he did attest to the fact that it feels like in order to make the sort of progress he would like to see made, more time would be better. So, I mean, it's kind of up in the air as far as what kind of progress you can make with that, with like the sort of schedule you're talking about. I'm curious. I'm
yeah.
actually curious. Like, I would like, at the end or here in a few years or something, I would really like to have data about this. I'm actually really curious about what can one achieve, when they have a full-time job and they're just trying to learn a language as a hobby, not necessarily one like Japanese. Because for example, if someone was learning Spanish or something for an hour or two, I'm really curious what they could achieve. But you do feel like you've been making progress then.
Definitely like I I don't sort of like feel any of the progress almost ever, but it's like but there is like objectively like a lot of invisible progress.
What do you?
Like
Yeah. What do you mean
it
by
still
that?
feels like it always like feels like I'm on like complete zero. It's like yeah, I don't know any Japanese, but then that's just like obviously not true. Like I can listen to Japanese and there'll be whole sentences I understand, and like I can read Japanese and understand things. I obviously have made progress. Like
Cool.
yeah,
So what?
I
So
really hope so.
so
'Cause
before.
I think
Go on.
I think the bigger problem was it wasn't really a consistent like each day I'd get like 1 or 2 hours. It was more that like I'd get like 5 hours and then like none like the next 2 days and then like a few more hours like the
Yeah.
after that. Like it was very off and on,
Yeah. That's
and then
that's
that's
why
sort of
I
like a
kind of
persistent.
was trying to get to the bottom of what you were actually doing,
Yeah,
because I think consistency in I'm not gonna talk from from like or as if I have the knowledge, but like I did hear that, and I think it's probably common knowledge that being consistent is probably better overall. Although I've talked to Matt actually about meditation, and I guess a common thing in meditation is that it's kind of good to just have a period where you really go like, or you really practice heavily. And we were talking about how that might relate to language learning, and if perhaps at the beginning it would also be, important, not necessarily important, but if it would be, if it would really spur progress if someone were to, take some time out, maybe a month, and just immerse all day for a month, for example, or something like that. I mean, it's hard to say concretely, but that's pretty much how I've approached my languages, and I would say it works. But if you feel like you're making progress, I would imagine that you definitely are. So that's a good thing. Why? Why did you?
Just to be clear, about it, I don't advocate doing what I did whatsoever. Like it was never my intention to just binge and purge like the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely like a thing that I'm trying to work on just throughout like all aspects of my life, really.
Yeah.
Because I just have really shitty discipline.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it sort of like affects everything. And like trying to do like MIA has actually like completely outside of Japanese has like actually been really useful in just sort of like forcing me to confront that, because like sort of like you were saying,
Go on.
you can't learn Japanese without putting in like a lot of time and effort. So like without having any shit at talking without having any like discipline and like being able to do things consistently, like you're shooting yourself in the foot like a lot. And it's so like more of a problem with like my university stuff, even more so than Japanese, really. So like it at so like the very current moment, I'm actually taking like a mini break from Japanese just to try and like catch up on all my university stuff and try and build like a lot more better habits. Like,
what are you doing in university, if I may ask?
I was doing computer science, but then I like failed both the trimesters that I did.
Okay. Was that because of Japanese? I hope not. I hope not.
Not completely directly. But it sort of it
had it
like I would have
its impact.
Yeah. It has impact because that's another thing I realized. Like and sort of why I'm taking like a mini break from that at the moment is just like I would use it as like another form of procrastination, but like it's definitely not that if I just didn't do Japanese then I would have been completely fine at university. Like it sort of like if it's like
I see, it's not just a little bit,
but it overall it made it better.
So
it sort of like forces it sort of like forced me to confront like where the underlying issues. So like I want to build up a lot of good habits. Like
what I can say is for example, I tried to start learning code about 3 times before I actually just learned code, and I would say that I forget when I started the first time. The first time was, I don't even know, like ages ago, probably in the middle of me studying Japanese. I actually picked up a book in Japanese, if I remember correctly. But then later, I started when I was in China, and then I did some code like earlier as well, but I don't remember exactly. I'd have to actually sit down and think about it, but I'm not going to do that right now. But I remember in China, and I actually started learning code with some tenacity for about 2 or 3 months, and then and then while I was learning Chinese, what others would consider very heavily, but for me, I felt like I was my focus was too split between Chinese and code, so I decided on just continuing to learn Chinese, which is probably not the best choice now, if I think about it. But I can definitely attest to the fact that probably, coding, to do well at that, mind you, I don't think I would do well at it in the school environment because that's just not for me. But yeah, high focus would definitely help. Although I did take some university coding classes and they're mostly a joke. I will say that as well. Not that I'm like I'm not like the best coder or whatever, but you know, I'm fluent.
Yeah.
We'll say.
Also, I don't know if I actually said, because I said I was doing computer science last year. At the moment, I'm actually doing a commerce degree, like in
Cool.
accounting, rather than that. So like I
Cool.
completely
That's
started
fine.
new on that.
They're
So,
in the chat. It's kind of funny.
um,
They're all just talking about obesity and just eating tons to get a head
yeah, I
start.
noticed
I don't
that.
know if you're looking at this. It's kind of I've been doing intensive eating in
Yeah.
the mornings, but I mean, it's kind of true. Like if you gain 50 pounds in the first month, you're like, well, if I gained 50 pounds in a month, I'd be in trouble. But if one were to gain 50 pounds in a month, you know, their sumo career would probably get a head start, or their sitting on the couch eating chips career would get a head start. So I can definitely understand that. So besides your bad
I
study
mean, yeah,
habits,
because I'm.
can I just ask you? So why did you decide that Japanese is something, or not even necessarily Japanese, if it's not about Japanese, or if it's just about being bilingual? Like, just go into that. I'm just curious about why you wanted to, you know, attempt to become
Um,
bilingual.
I mean, I always just kind of wanted to be bilingual. Like I think a lot of people do, just because like that seems really cool. Like to see other people speaking other languages, like
Yeah.
oh this, it's like they're speaking. It's like they're speaking in a code that the teachers can't understand. Haha, epic. But yeah, and then so I always kind of want to do that, but never looked into it that much. And then um, I think I'm not sure what.
They're
I
calling
think the
you a big
first time
weeb.
that
Are
I
you a
actually
big weeb?
considered,
I'm gonna ask
I
you, and
actually wasn't.
I'm
I'm like
asking you in the
I'm like an
kindest way
entry level
possible.
weeb. Nah, I'm like a very entry level weeb. Like I
I
watched
like that.
yeah, because like I watched Death Note when I was like 13, maybe no, maybe a little bit older, and then like I was like, oh, anime is so cool, and I need to watch more of it. And then I just never watched another anime for like the next 5 years. So I was like, no, Death Note's like the only good one.
Yeah, Death Note
And
is
then
among the better ones for sure. Yeah,
exactly,
it's definitely difficult to get into some other anime. I definitely have trouble. Death
yeah,
entry
but
level
then
note, entry level weeb note. Cool. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
and then
So
then like a year or two
go on.
ago, I watched Steins Gate, which was sort of like the same thing. So then I did watch a couple more anime, but then I got super obsessed with Steins Gate and like the series that's like a part of. And like kind of like, oh, there's actually like a shit ton of stuff from that like isn't translated. So like that's sort of like where I first started thinking about like, oh, maybe I should learn Japanese. So then like I probably spent like a year just to like on and off doing like all like the bullshit stuff, like doing, because it was like right around the time that Duolingo started their Japanese course. So like, oh sweet, as soon as they release that, then I can do that, and
Yeah.
then I'll be fluent easy.
How did that go?
Um,
How long did you do that for? Duolingo.
not even that long, like a month maybe,
How did you find
maybe
Matt?
two.
I'm guessing you found Matt, and
I
then he introduced you to
Yeah,
Matt,
yeah,
or
yeah.
to like AJAT and
Um,
MIA
yeah, it
slash
was sort of
AJAT
like
or
a
whatever. Even though he hates that, I'm only saying that because that's what other people say. Matt, I obviously don't want to say that either. It's a different thing. I agree.
you know I it was like a whole year before I found Matt at all, and it was only through Nuke Marine, because coincidentally, so like the last of the um, bad methods that I
Yeah.
was doing was his like memorize courses.
Cool.
So like I
Cool.
was like subscribed to him on YouTube. Sort of controversial saying his memorize courses are bad, but
Is it
um,
controversial? I
then
have no idea. Is it controversial?
I don't, probably not, but
Oh, I
it's
don't
just
think
that
it's.
he he's got like a big role on the Matt vs Japan server, so people
Yeah,
look up to him. I guess I don't know. I don't know
I
what people
see.
actually think of Yugamori, but I was like subscribed to his YouTube channel and everything, and then uh, like Matt had his like mini drama with uh what's it, Japanese from Zero, George.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and when they had like that so I only found out about it through him having that Discord conversation,
Yeah, that
and
was
then
around
usually
when I
like recording
had
it.
joined the server a little shortly before that. I had maybe a couple months before I had joined, and yeah, I remember the big discussion on the server. It's a famous MIA server history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
Japanese from zero to one. Matt
Matt's
said
Matt's saying
from zero
yeah,
to one. Yeah,
Matt's saying in the
pretty
chat.
much.
He's saying in the chat, nuke after 10 years, almost N3 Marine. Also, I did.
Man, Matt's going
I
hard today. He's not even playing around. He's going hard.
That's. I got really pissed off at him. Not Matt. Marine. Like once I found that out, because like when I was like following that, I just assumed that he was fluent and learned everything, and then like um, obviously I started looking into Matt's stuff, and then I think Matt had like a stream with Nuke Marine as well, where he was like going through like his memorized courses.
I
And
actually
like he like mentioned that he wasn't when he mentioned that he like wasn't fluent, I was like, wait, what the fuck? And then like
Did you think he was
like going through
fluent?
his, like, and he kept saying that like oh yeah, I recommend my students like immerse and stuff. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I didn't know about any of this. And I felt so betrayed.
No, you thought he
Like,
was fluent
this
though?
guy shit. I just assumed he was because he made it because he made so many fucking resources.
Yeah, I have actually a history with Nuke Marine that I can go into in a little bit, which is pretty funny, and I think at least some people find entertaining. But I want to ask you first before I go into that. What is the general impression then that you get watching Nuke Marine's videos or something, or when he talks about learning Japanese? What is the general impression you got before let's say you got red pilled a little bit, slightly red
I
pilled?
mean, before I got like red pilled at all, I kind of just saw it the same way as like any other source of like Japanese stuff. Like I pretty much just viewed them the same way as like Japanese from Zero or Japanese Pod 101 or whatever the fuck. Um, so and just due to the fact that he was like making stuff, I just assumed that he was good. So I was like, yeah, he must know what he's talking about. But like, pretty much as soon as I got like kind of red pilled, like he kind of annoys me a lot, to be perfectly honest. Like,
Oh, whoops! I was
yeah,
muted
like,
on accident. But let me go into why I have a particular view on Nuke Marine and myself, because I started learning Japanese back in 2009, and if at that
yeah.
time you went to popular learning courses, you would find or learning discussion forums, I guess you would say, which the major one at that time was Kanji Kuhi. If you would go there, he was super active at that time, giving everyone the impression that he was fluent. And at the beginning, before I very quickly red pilled myself on not the trash, but on the waste of time that participating in such a discussion forum can be, I had actually frequented there for a while, and I did see him promoting tons of stuff as if, not only did I see him promoting what to do, I saw tons of people listening, and I kind of fell for it slightly in some regards. That's like he pretty much recommended some of the, or not some, probably the first what do you call it, pre-made deck that I did. So he recommended it to me. But then eventually I quickly realized that, spending time there was a waste of time. And then I came back 3 years later, fluent, and Nuke Marine was still doing the same thing. And then I actually, maybe in the future, I will show, like, I can show where I call him out on there. I called him out then. So I have like a special bond with Nuke Marine because he's been selling his snake oil for a long time, and you know, I'm. I mean, mind you, now his snake oil
you
is
can take
actually
that
just
story and just
copying
replace it with
like
Reddit.
it's copying like methods that work, so it's not as bad. But
Yeah,
it's pretty
because
bad that
yeah, if you just take that
yeah,
story and replace kanji kohi with Reddit like r slash learn Japanese, that's
yeah,
pretty much my experience. Besides the
yeah.
getting fluent part.
Well, besides the part that was 10 years ago, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. This was
Yeah,
1 year ago,
yeah. So
and
I
he's
mean,
still like
he's actually made some
yeah.
progress within the last year, so I'll go easy on him now. But at that time, I can only imagine
Mm.
how great he was. I mean,
But yeah, now I just
yeah,
now I just sort of view him the same way as a lot of quite a few of the people on
yeah.
Matt's Discord. It's like, why the fuck are you spending so much time here? Like, stop trying to teach other people. You
Yeah.
don't know shit yet.
It's it's
I don't know shit yet either. But I'm not going around trying to make resources for everyone else to learn a thing that I don't understand.
yeah, it's crazy to me because I'm super hesitant. I mean, it's fine. I don't want to really like put him down or anything, but it's just crazy to me because from my perspective, like I don't even feel comfortable speaking authoritatively. Wow, failed at English right there. But on any subject that even subjects that I feel like I'm decently capable in, for example, code or um, you know, Chinese, Japanese. I've I wouldn't I would not speak with authority on any of those subjects because I mean that's also I think just has a lot to do with one's personality, so that's why I don't do that. But
Yeah, no, Sam.
yeah, but it's kind of interesting that he's been at it for a long time. So what's your end game? So what is I'm native level in English
Yeah,
and you can't say I'm not pants. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm native level. I mean, come on. I don't understand why some people say I'm not native level. It's kind of ridiculous to me. But what do you think? What do you think? Let's take a little detour here. What was your name again? I keep saying Kleptomanta, and then completely forgot your name.
Jared.
Jared. All right, Jared. So, what do you think of my English? Is it native level?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
obviously native level.
yeah. It's obviously native level, but they're making fun of me because I couldn't pronounce it. Yeah, I can't pronounce a lot of words. I actually fail a lot of. Yeah, it's just a lisp exactly. Ningen has it, but
Yeah,
so
yeah, like you talk slightly weird, but it's not like it's not a
yeah, I think that's
it's not
more
like
a
it's not an
character
accent.
quirk than
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, mind you, yeah, I've gone nowadays. I code so much that I've realized since I've started coding a lot more recently. Um, One's mind becomes a lot slower at thinking human language, whether that be English or any other language. Once you're coding all day, it's like a completely different form of thinking that one does. And if you do it most of the day, it really does impact one's ability to communicate. And I really realize that I think we all know there's that stereotype that coders are kind of bad at communication. But I don't think it's that coders are bad at communication. It's more like they they become worse at communication through coding. It's something that I've noticed, and it's something that perhaps one day I would like to work on. Actually, speak more rather than just talk to myself and code all day long. But for the time being, I'm going to continue to do that. There's some work left to be done. Um, so what's your end game? What's Japanese to you, or what's learning languages to you? What's your end game with it?
Yeah, so I mean, at the moment, like, I mean, I'm very aware that like as soon as I reach any sort of milestone,
Yeah.
like the goalposts will probably just shift to the point where like I end up just wanting to be native. So like I
Well,
sort of don't want to I don't want to like sabotage myself at all. But like at the moment, my only real goal is to just be able to read stuff in Japanese like pretty much as easily as I can in English. I just be able to do content. Like I don't really have that many goals with like output
Spam
or
classic.
talking to people even. I mainly just want to be able to like read and listen to stuff like
Yeah.
podcasts and whatever. But I mean, I'm sure as soon as I get there, I'll just want to be completely native. So like it.
I mean, completely. I
I'm
think
not just
that's
gonna
you
go
should
all
definitely.
in, but
I although I don't like to speak authoritatively on any if that's right on any subject, I'm gonna go ahead and say don't aim to be native. Probably a bad aim. I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there right now. Probably don't want to do that. You're gonna just set yourself up for a lot of psychological torment in that, you know. Unless one like
the aim
if
to be native or the aim to understand stuff.
or to no to be like native level in
Yeah, yeah.
like overall, unless that's the like learning Japanese or learning your target language. For everyone here is learning Japanese, let's be honest, but if one learning their target language is the most important thing ever, absolutely, then they can go ahead and do that. Yeah, Matt, he is strolling hard.
Yeah,
I
no.
don't know. He's on it today. I encourage it. um, I encourage it. However, what was I
Yeah,
saying?
no, because
But
basically
like,
at the moment, my goal
imagine what
isn't to
one
be
could do putting the
native
same.
whatsoever.
Yeah, imagine putting what one could do putting the same amount of time into perfecting their Japanese, or if they put that same amount of time into code rather than into perfecting a language. I think probably their life could be perhaps more interesting. I don't know. Maybe not though. Like if Japanese or whatever language, whatever target language is really someone's, you know, and I don't want to say obsession, but it kind of takes it to be that point. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
power is amateru.
Yeah, 'cause
But
it's definitely not there for me.
yeah, so that
Like I
so I
reckon
think it's okay.
I'll probably end up living in Japan for like a couple years,
Yeah.
but like chances are I probably won't end up permanently living in Japan because like collectivism and all that. Like I mean I don't know that much about Japanese culture,
Yeah.
but from what I do know, I feel like I probably would be a better fit for not that.
Yeah. If I took
So
middle school
I don't know.
Minecraft hours and
I mean,
used it to
I
study
won't know until I
Japanese.
go there, but like I probably won't end up living in Japan forever. So
Yeah. No, that's
not,
okay.
not too
I
fussed
had
about being
never
completely native.
I had never originally planned on living in Japan like full time. I had always thought that I would go live in Europe somewhere, but I think I'm gonna end up in Asia. I'm not gonna go into it. It's somewhat political. I'm not gonna go into it, but I think Asia's probably where I'll end up. Although the wife has a lot to do with like the likelihood that I'll move to Japan rather than China. The funny thing is, I was talking to Matt about this just maybe like 2 days ago or something, and it's now that he's learning Chinese, it's kind of funny because we always talked about Japanese or like the study process of learning a language as it relates to Japanese and different specifics therein. But the funny thing is that to me, like Chinese and China have been a way bigger part of my life. Like I lived there for 3.5 years, whereas in Japan I only lived there for a year. But although I did go way harder when I learned Japanese than when I learned Chinese because, and then another thing to do with that is I think once one understands how much work it takes to really get like what one could call perhaps as a second language speaker of a language, what one might call impressively fluent, which I feel I was getting at least close to something like that towards the end of my heyday with Japanese. But knowing what it takes to get there in Chinese, I just could not bring myself to do it, to be honest. I mean, mind you, it probably did take 30,000 plus Anki cards, but that's kind of how I did it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go
Like,
on.
my goal with getting fluent in Japanese is like it's only half about the actual language. Like at this point, like it's more of just like a personal thing of like actually accomplishing something that I've set out to do.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
which is like like also like it like any other like thing that I've
Yeah.
picked up and tried to do, like it's like been like dropped pretty quickly. Like
Yeah.
just the fact that I'm still like haven't actually dropped Japanese yet after like however long is like
Mm-hmm.
that's already like a sort of like impressive thing for me. I guess
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
Because
go on.
I feel like I like I just never really learned how to study like at all, like and for just like school even like
Yeah. Mind you, I
fuck, I
didn't
keep
really
saying like
study at school. I
yeah
would just read books unrelated to what was going on in school. Like I didn't
yeah
even
yeah
participate largely. Um, but what I was going to say, like, yeah, I think a lot of the real issue, and I don't mean to I don't want to bring the hammer down on you. I don't mean to do that, but I'm gonna
no,
go
that's
ahead and
fine.
say that the real issue and what I think, like, if someone were to ask me, oh, what do you find interesting about yourself, like, from another person's perspective, they might say, oh, oh, you can at least speak Japanese, so, I would say, it's fluent, but I'm kind of self-deprecating because I've fallen a long way in all my languages. But they might say, oh, he speaks Japanese, Chinese, Portuguese, and he codes. But what I'm going to say is, what's actually interesting is that I have, like, I have pretty good goal-seeking behavior. And I think that's what's actually interesting because I feel like it really doesn't matter what the goal is. I'll actually work hard towards it all the time, like diligently. And I think that's kind of something that probably needs to be talked about if one um, wants to, you know, I think that might be like the meta skill towards just actually accomplishing goals is probably more important than even learning a language or or learning whatever one might be studying. The meta skill of actually just being being that engaged with it where you couldn't imagine not doing the activity. Like for me, that's how I get when I'm doing something. It's what
And
I do. You know what I mean? It's not about, oh, is there another option? No, it's just that's what I want to do. Like when I wake up, like right now, I'm just going hard on code. So I go to sleep. I largely dream about coding the project that I'm working on. Then I wake up and quickly drink some water, whatever, some coffee, and then that's what I want to do, and that's what I go and do. So I don't know how if that's something that's genetic or what that might be, but I feel like if there is a way to, you know, build that meta skill, that would be what perhaps would be the most important thing to do. Oh, and like actually,
I
I was
mean
just
yeah
in
that
Matt's Q&A earlier, and then Matt talked about this about like he was talking to someone who said they had trouble with their schedule, and what he suggested is, hey, if you're trying to tell yourself to study 6 hours a day when you're really studying 40 minutes a day, then perhaps what you should do is tell yourself to study 45 minutes a day and then slowly raise it from there until you know until I feel like at a certain point one builds a certain level of confidence in their ability to pursue a goal, and it just becomes well, I'm not sure if that's the case, but it might become natural behavior. I would maybe.
I mean
So
that's kind of like exactly what I wanted to talk to you about, like
go on.
that whole meta skill, like almost unrelated to
Yeah,
like Japanese itself, just like
yeah,
how
it's the base level.
you seem to be so good at seeking out goals. Like that's sort of what I'm trying to work towards, both with Japanese and just with anything I do really. Like because like the process of like language acquisition and all
Hmm.
that, like like you almost
That's a
like
minor part
I
of
don't I
it,
don't
to
have
be
any
honest, in my
yeah
opinion.
Exactly. Like
The
I
major
don't have the
part
space
is
to do that. Like
yaruki.
I already know what to do.
If you have the desire to
Like
get stuff done, it really is. That's the
exactly. Like
major part.
my only issue is just putting it into practice, both with
Hmm.
like Japanese and like learning anything else.
Mind you, though, I
Like
think languages are particularly difficult because,
oh yeah,
especially in an immersion like approach, because what one has to do is literally just pretty much turn off as an adult, turn off as a human being, and just like soak up their immersion environment. Not really be, you're not really a participant anymore in your life in a way, and it's ridiculous. Like it makes people feel kind of helpless. It definitely made me feel kind of helpless, and you have to learn to embrace that. But I mean, I feel like that's why a lot of people avoid immersing and avoid doing a lot of the things that are required because it's just you kind of feel helpless doing it. And then especially once you don't have confidence. See, I think I had like a kind of a special gift given to me in a way because I learned English. I wasn't even I wasn't even a speaker of English until I started at close to 9 years old or 8 years, I think close to 9 years old. And remembering that, like, just I knew before I started Japanese with absolute confidence that I could learn another language. You know what I mean? So I was able to do what I needed to do, and I actually knew that I immersed in English. So it just kind of gave me a certain level of confidence in the activities that I had to do in order to improve my Japanese. So, and then other languages. So I feel like I can't really perhaps speak on the topic of what it would feel like if you don't have that kind of, or what I would do if I didn't have that certain level of confidence. But I can say, but even before that, although I didn't study anything hard, like I was really into working out and stuff, and I pursued that also very hard for like 4 years when I was younger, between I don't know, was it 16 to 20 or something like that. So I always had something that I kind of worked hard towards. So that's kind of important. Although it didn't take the level of dedication, mind you, that something like Japanese or programming or Chinese, etc. takes. So
yeah, like
go on.
yeah, like I said, like my sort of like main life goal right now is pretty much working on that meta skill that you described.
Yeah.
Of just being able to like be dedicated to like a thing, because with like pretty much no matter what I try and do, like if I like try and like set up a good sleep schedule, like I'll do it for like 3 days and then it just completely falls off. And then like if I wanna when I'm like studying for like accounting and all that, like I'll like time box and do everything really well for like a few days, and then like the next few days after that, like I just like completely crash and like do nothing. So like that's and I think that's the underlying problem that I've just had with
Yeah, I don't know if this is the
MIA as
same
well.
thing, but I had an issue. Like I had a similar issue. I would when I was going to university, I had no problem maintaining like excellent I don't know, excellent grades, I suppose, and just like excellent, well, not excellent desire, but excellent grades and a strong desire to do well from the perspective
Yeah,
that getting good grades means you're doing well. I did have sort of that ability to do that, but it would never last past like halfway through a semester. In your case, you're saying it lasts like 3 days, so that's a bigger issue. But in my case, I have experienced that, and I would just, my grades would just start this slippery slide down into not good territory often as a result. But
yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's just so hard. But I felt like it's just because it wasn't like intrinsic motivation to study those things. It was kind of like just work given to me that I had to do, and I never really could do as well with that as I could when it was something that I intrinsically decided by myself that I wanted to do. Do you have
Yeah,
any other, like, we can speak for
that
like
sounds pretty
5 more minutes,
familiar.
then I should do the few questions that there are, or if people in the chat want to ask questions too, ask them now, guys, if you want to. But go on. So anything else?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
just work on that skill. I would say that's the main skill. And then I would take Matt's advice. Definitely just go ahead and work on slowly improving. It's not necessarily improving. What's important, I feel, it's not even improving how much of something you do. It's how much you do of what you say you're going to do. That's what's key. Like,
yeah,
you have to
exactly.
hold yourself accountable to what you say, but you also have to go easy on yourself. Like, I remember, like, a way that I used to talk. Well, I mean, I just haven't talked about it in this way for a long time. But like, you're kind of you're kind of like a beast tamer in a way, because if you let your base desires kind of control you, you're gonna just procrastinate a whole lot. So you have to kind of like set a contract with your beast self, if I may say,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
allow the time for it, although it's still you, to do what it wants to do. Like, for example, I want to play video games, so I have to allow myself some time to play video games, or I'm not going to be happy, even though I can just force myself to do other things. Nowadays, I don't even have, like, I'm like way better at just being so motivated by what I am doing that I don't even have usually desires to do other things. I mean, I
yeah,
still do, mind you, but it just, the whole point is, if you do that, eventually you, like, your beast self comes around a little bit. If you know, kind of make a contract and make sure that you allow you allow something, but it's always understood how much you're going to allow of that activity, and allow as much. Even, for example, let me actually give you a concrete example. Say I'm like, I have a really bad habit of playing video games all day, but I want to study, we'll say Korean, because I just too much Japanese focus here. Let's say I want to study Korean, and I have a really bad habit where I play video games for 10 hours a day. Well, I can start saying, well, I want to study or I want to study Korean for an hour a day. But how about I just say I want to study Korean for 10 minutes a day? I feel like that's the level of incremental it's kind of a contract making with yourself that you have to make. Because once you get used to honoring that, it becomes easier to honor, push it further. So it's really important to do that. And I feel like I probably didn't really notice it, but I incrementally got better at, doing that with myself. Although I did kind of notice it, because I do have like the perspective that you have to kind of, appease your base human vehicle, so to say, meat vehicle. If you don't do that, then
yeah,
life's not going to be good. So it's like a balancing act. But I feel, to build that skill, it's probably good to just make tiny little commitments that you can do, and then just
yeah.
slowly increase it. For example, I haven't been in a meditation, but I just recently started, and mind you, I also haven't been good at the commitment of actually reading through the what's it called, the Mind Illuminated. But I've read to the point where I need to, so it's fine. But it says in there that you should start at something like 20 minutes, right? 15, 20 minutes, or 20, 30 minutes or something.
Mm.
I start at 5
Yeah, it
minutes,
feels like that's
and I'm
insane.
going
Yeah,
up 1 minute a week, because I know that's how you start something new, in my opinion. That's how you start a new activity. So I'm currently at 10 minutes, but I start at 5 minutes, and I'm just gonna go up from there, and then it slowly just, it's just way easier to do things in that way. So you might want to try something like that.
yeah. That's what I've been slowly learning as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm yeah, I've sort of been like realizing how little partially through meditation as well. That like how little willpower you really have, like that, like you're not nearly as in control of like
Yeah, definitely
your
not.
mind as you think you are. So like the sort of problem is I kind of have is that like I'll to like willpower myself to be like really good for like a day
Yeah,
or two, and like I'll get like shit tons of stuff done.
yeah,
It's like sweet. Then like the next day, like since it wasn't like incremental, like
yeah,
since so I went like all the way there, then like
yeah. Because the
I
habit's
know
not
it's like
actually
crap.
built. That's what I'm saying. The habit's
Yeah,
not actually
exactly.
built.
Yeah,
If
like
you want to build a habit,
it's
just start
yeah,
at like nothing. Literally start at
exactly. Yeah,
nothing.
like it's pretty much.
It might even do you
I've
better to
the way I've
start
sort of been
again
thinking
studying
about it
Japanese at
is
10 minutes a day right now, but
yeah,
actually build the habit this time. That might do
yeah,
better.
like
But then also, if you find yourself not studying Japanese as much as you feel you want to, you have to also ask, do you want? Mind you, you don't want to necessarily listen to the human meat vehicle because it'll tell you that you don't want to do anything, right? So,
exactly. Yeah,
so that's the issue. You don't want to listen to that too much, but then you also want to listen to yourself, like if that's what you really want to do. But then again, even if it is something that one really wants to do, it might be difficult if they're not used to just making their meat vehicle follow the rules. So it you know, but it's something that you should consider if like into the future you have trouble with intrinsic motivation to study Japanese, then it's okay. Like maybe it's not that level of you don't have that level of interest in it, which would be okay. You should also consider that. I'm not saying like that, because it's not important whether you learn Japanese or not. It really isn't. So
exactly. Yeah.
you should think about what
So
you want to do and try because it's kind of like a huge opportunity cost you spending your time trying to learn. And I'm not saying that that's the case, but if you should really actually think about that because if this time could be spent perhaps finding something that you're really intrinsically motivated in, that you're going to just pretty much wake up thinking about it, go to sleep thinking about it, and largely enjoy the activity when doing it, then you might want to think about finding that rather than pushing yourself to do something.
And
So
I do think Japanese is that. To
yeah,
be honest,
I'm
like
not saying it's
when
not
I am
at
actually
all.
doing
Yeah,
it, like yeah,
yeah,
like it is for the most part enjoyable, and like
yeah. It could just be that
it's obviously something I think about all the time as
yeah,
well. So
your meat vehicle taming skills is just like you just have
it
to
is
continue to level those up,
my
and then you'll be good.
my yeah, like my meat vehicle taming skills are like
Yeah,
fucking nothing. Like, and they have been
yeah,
for like the past like 18 years. So
yeah,
like that's like I'm pretty much thinking about it like sort of
yeah.
like building up self control in an I+1 fashion,
Yeah.
like with the incremental stuff, like so like almost applying I+1 to just everything else.
Yeah,
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 no,
no, for sure, for sure.
yeah, I've. If you want to go on to questions, now,
Yeah, I
that's
think
pretty
I'm
much
going
anything
to.
I wanted to talk about. So
Cool, yeah. Just work on that meat
it was
vehicle.
kind of all over the place, but
No, it's fine. That's what I want it to be. This is way better. I feel like we can just have a nice chat. People who want to listen to it can listen to it and enjoy it. And I feel I can thank you. Thanks for supporting what I'm doing, man. I appreciate it. And then I can actually talk to you guys and just show that I appreciate it. Give me more, and I'll get more
oh, also
working. Go on.
just one thing.
What's up?
Matt just brought up that Kelvin went back to
Are you
learning
kidding?
Japanese, and yeah, no, I did know that because he
What?
was
Go on, go on.
what his plan was, because I talked to Kelvin quite a lot privately because I'm like quite good friends with him at this point because we sort of had fairly similar
Yeah.
experiences with Japanese. Except I never actually quit. I just went into a bunch of lols.
Yeah.
But his thing that he was gonna do was like he was gonna keep that like super private, and like just like says like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm leaving the internet for a bit, and then like he only told me and one other person, and he was supposed to be like keeping it completely private that he was like doing Japanese again, and he wasn't going to tell anyone until like he had already like got to like stage 2, and like
Calvin.
had sort of like proven that he'd stick with it. Like Kelvin.
Calvin is like
Kelvin
Route
Jack.
1 Pokemon level human meat vehicle tamer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it sounds like
I
he's having a
sympathize
bit
lot
of
'cause, like,
trouble there. But that's
yeah,
alright.
that's sort of like exactly the same as, well, not quite exactly the same, but it's we've had like pretty similar experiences in that regard. That's sort of like why I ended up being like quite good friends with him. But like literally the next day after he said like that me and one other person was going to be the only people who
Yeah.
knew that had gone back to Japanese. Literally the next day, I just hear from like someone else on another Discord. It's like, oh yeah, did you hear that Kelvin went back to Japanese? I was like, oh, for fuck's sake! Wait, how do people know about this
Yeah.
already?
That's
And, like,
crazy.
like,
I wish he supported me at
You
the
gotta
$3
stop being so
level,
public.
and then he got lucky enough to win the raffle, because I'd like to talk to him, honestly. I want to see what's going on. I want to try to red pill him on meat vehicle taming.
Exactly. He needs to stop making everything public and stop making like big
Yeah.
grandiose plans. Like, because every time he starts a new language, he'll
Yeah.
always make like a big like plan of like, yep, like lay out all the stages and everything and all that.
Matt, did
But-
he speak? Or did you chat with him? I'll have to watch that. I'm curious. Although it's not. I don't please my meat vehicle, so it's alright. I'll take a look. I'll take a little gander. Can you tell us more of the story? He said he wasn't actually interested in Japanese, and Chinese was his true passion. Oh, he came on and said that. So Matt said that he said Chinese was his true passion, and especially. Well, I mean, hey, I just want to say something. I was kind of starting to question something, things a little bit when, he told me he was studying Taiwanese Mandarin, and I said, well, Taiwanese Mandarin, is pretty marginal, and I mean, you can do what you want though, like to each his own. And then he's like, okay, well, maybe I'm gonna consider not studying Taiwanese Mandarin. Okay, well, now he's just studying Japanese. Like, it's hard. I'll be honest. As someone who takes goal making and goal pursuit seriously, it's hard to take him very seriously. I'll be honest, but I hope the best.
Yeah,
I hope that he achieves his goals, but man, it feels like his meta skill at goal setting and goal achieving is pretty low. Low.
I sympathize with him on that, because like, so is mine, and that's what I'm working on, and pretty much most of what I've talked about like on here, except my goal's been pretty much the same throughout the whole time now.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
He needs to like, I don't know. Like, I think he will get there eventually, but he just needs to stick with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I hope he gets fluent in something.
I mean, I think maybe he should just honestly just go back to playing his games that he like. It sounds like he's going through like
that
psychological torment with all this. There's no real reason. Like, you don't have to learn a language. Literally, you don't need to. There's no point. Can you tell us? Can you tell us his rationalization for going back to Japanese? I'm curious as well.
So I need to look back through it.
Oh, he did. He told you. Cool. Yeah, we'll go to questions in a second, guys. If you have any questions, ask me.
Yeah.
Did anyone already ask a question? If you already asked a question before, can you please re-ask it? Because I was not reading the chat at that time until the Calvin conversation started. Then I was then I was engrossed in the chat. But before that,
yeah,
I was
think
not.
I think I found his
Oh, go on.
rationalization. So I'll just
just read it out.
I'll just read out like the Mr. Not to dox him, but yeah. So he said, basically, I was finding myself immersing with Japanese stuff a lot more than my Chinese. This confused me, but then when I thought about why and my history with Japanese, basically due to my failures with Japanese, I grew an immense amount of shame to a point where it was hard to face Japanese. At one point, I felt that like I fucked up with Japanese and that I should choose something else. I really like Japanese and I don't really care about any other language, so I chose Chinese since it was the closest. But most of the time, I found myself immersing with Japanese stuff, and I remember a lot of what I learned, which isn't much, but it's still something. So I'm now ridding the shame of not making much progress and showing people that in the past. So that was pretty much his rationalization, I think.
It's funny. to me, like in
Like
this
screenshot it or something.
this younger generation, like people. I don't know how old is Calvin. Do you know?
He's like 23,
Oh, okay.
22.
Well, I mean, I guess it's
Early,
not
early
really
20s.
full generation. I mean, I'm 31 now, unfortunately. So, but it's kind of funny to me because like when I started like learning Japanese the first time, like the last thing I was thinking about was, well, I should just share my whole progress story with everyone. I didn't like that was the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't. I was like, oh, that's likely gonna just be a waste of time, so I didn't do it. And like Calvin feels like he's probably the person most in need of having that sort of perspective on it because he's already having trouble without the distraction of like flip flopping all over the whole internet and constant you know disappearing acts. But you can think about perhaps just working on the skill of not going on the internet and talking to people about what he's doing and just actually try to do what he's doing. He's kind of like a nuke marine in that way.
Yeah, a little bit like yeah, cause on
It's just like
Taylor
gossip
Swift,
hour.
Just the most disappointing thing. That,
Japanese community
'cause,
gossip hour,
said that
boys. Sorry.
he- like when he said that he was gonna like keep it like private and off the internet and everything, and like not be like have it public in Japanese. Like I thought it was really good. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And he's realized that that's an issue, so he's not gonna do that, and he'll probably do better, like not having it be public at all. And then it was just so disappointing the next day to just hear from someone completely unrelated. It's like, oh yeah, I think Kelvin's gone back to Japanese. It's like, come on, man. Like, ugh. I don't know. See if I can.
Who are we talking
But yeah,
about?
let's probably move on to the questions.
Yeah, let's
So,
move on to questions. Yep,
don't-
for sure.
don't
Because
have
I'm
that
ready to
much
take
more to-
off in a little while, guys. So, all right, where do the questions start from? Let me go. Why is he doing JP? Okay, so the first question is why is he doing JP if he hates it? He's the sacrificial lamb. All right, next question. Let's keep looking. Would learning pitch, accent, and sentences instead of single cards be better? All right, this is what I keep talking to Matt about. Like, I would like a database of correctly mapped pitch, accent, sentences eventually, because I also agree. I think learning through words is really great because you can very quickly just learn the pitch accent of a lot of words, and that's what I was doing until I got even more heavily focused on coding projects. So I'm just doing a tiny bit of pitch accent stuff myself, but I feel like that would be the next step. Pound through like 3,000. That's how I would do it. Mind you, guys, I go kind of hard. I can, I have not an issue actually just sitting down and doing the work that I put in front of myself if I'm motivated to do it. But what I would do is go 3,000 words hard. Just learn, in frequency order. Learn those very well, and then from there, just practice doing a lot of sentences. Maybe like 500 sentences, and I feel like slowly one will just build the ability to understand how it all goes together. Oh yeah, by the way, Jared,
Yes.
I'm gonna let you go now. Thank you for participating in the first yoga cast. You're gonna be world famous one day as a result of this.
Okay.
You were part of the origin story
I feel like a
of the
celebrity.
world famous yoga cast. Let me tell you, all the weebs out there will know all about it. But thanks for being the first one on there. Lulu didn't show up, so didn't show up.
No
He
worries.
didn't respond. So Lulu was first. Actually, guys, I want to say I'm gonna out Matt on this one. Matt was actually second, but no one would believe that. So the first name that I pulled out was Lulu. Then Matt was second, and then the third guy didn't want to do it. Actually, I told you were second, Jared, but Jared, you were actually
I was like,
fourth.
what?
You were fourth. Matt was second, but no one would believe it.
Nice.
But so I told him, I was like, Matt, I think we're gonna pass you by this time, but maybe we'll bring Matt on next week. Unless Lulu, I told him Lulu, since he got picked first, he can go next time if he wants. And what we're gonna do from now on, actually, we're gonna do is actually just plan it. It's going to be completely planned based on the winner of the raffle. So the winner of the raffle is going to get to dictate when it happens. That way it's fair. If they want to participate, they get to dictate. So at the end of today's stream, which should be in a little while, I'm going to pump through some questions. But I'm going to do a random number generation on my phone based on the order of when people became my patrons. And I'll count from the first person, and then we'll find out who's next too. So if they want to do it, maybe I'll pick 3 people, and then we'll see who's going to be on the next one if they'd like.
I think I was probably like 4th on that as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, that's why you got picked, by the way, or something. Right. You were there, you were right around there. That's why you got picked. Or no, or mind. No, the numbers have nothing to do with it. I forgot. Never mind. The numbers just, that was the 4th number I picked out. But you were right around there too. I know you were right around the beginning. Thanks. So
no problem, man.
To get back to the question now. Oh, okay. Bye, Jared. I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
Sorry for not being a better public speaker.
No, hey, I'm terrible too. Join the club, man. We can have fun being terrible together. It's a lot of. Hopefully at least I'll get better if I do these things every once in a while. Once a month, it's probably not enough to. It's not enough consistency to improve, unfortunately, though. All right, bye. All right, so what I would say is probably go ahead and or what I would do. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, I'm not going to tell anyone what they should do, but I'll say what I would do. And this is what I would literally do. I would do 3,000 cards, then do 500, maybe even 1,000 sentences. I would just push it, but I would do it with the thought that I'm not going to keep repping these forever. So, but that's what I would do. I would rep them out until I get really, really comfortable with just the pitch accent, those sentences. Then what I would do is probably just listen to the same speaker speak for a huge amount of time, and that's how I would approach trying to really acquire pitch accent. And at the same time, I would, the pitch accent add-on that I'm working on is only beta now, but once it's in a better form, I would definitely make sure to use that as well, and it's going to be coming out public when it's in a better form, guys. But I would use that as well, because then you can just naturally, while you're learning other content, you can naturally just get better at it. All right, so another question: was this supposed to be a public stream the whole time, or was it or was it just supposed to be streamed and then after the stream made public? No, it's not supposed to be a public stream, although I allowed Jared to allow some of his friends in. It's fine. All right, what's next? What is the next question? Did you find it annoying dealing with Japanese people? Not really about the Japanese part, but actually because of their culture. I've never found it annoying to deal with like people because of their culture or whatnot. It's fine. If anything, what I've learned is that most people, and I mean, mind you, I still need to do a lot more traveling or whatever, more living abroad to get a more accurate picture, but people are generally just about the same. The differences are relatively minor, although I feel like interesting people are just hard to come by anyways, so I don't really care necessarily how I get along with just like the average person from whatever culture. I just try to find good friends and people who are interesting, and I largely just deal with them, and I just try to be polite to other people, and sometimes a little bit impolite too on accident, and sometimes on purpose too. All right, after that, all right, let's go. Another question: was this supposed? Oh, is that it? What I see, there's a gratification problem. He has an addiction of instant. If he gets a good dose of delayed gratification, some of the go. Okay, is that it? Oh, I have Yoga Pants. I have a question. Did you immerse in Japanese stuff in public? I'm always scared. Yeah, I actually I currently still do some Chinese reps and coding reps, and I'll go into learning code with an SRS eventually. And I just walk around grocery stores when I go out shopping, and I literally just rep, and I will speak out loud, and I don't care. I literally don't care, because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day what random random person thinks of you. Like, I really don't care about that at all. Um, which is, that's why, I have my personality quirks, you could say. How to deal with the feeling of just sucking. No matter what skill level I get at, I still feel I suck. Hey, join the club. I definitely suck too. All right, guys, we have to go to the Patreon questions first, and then we'll come back. Okay, Nico asks, I've arrived to Japan this week. I think I'm starting stage 3 in Matt's MIA balance path. At least Anki-wise and reading. I don't get all my immersion yet, nor do I get all what people say to me at the moment. I didn't have anything like that fluent realization moment at the airport that you described when arriving in Japan. Probably should have done and be doing much more immersion hours. So what should I do? Matt's version of abroad exchange, staying in a room doing AJAT while in Japan. Some other approach you could recommend. I'll be here until July, so I don't want to waste the experience neither. I would, Nico, honestly, you can, like, Matt just talked about this earlier on his own Q&A, I think, and what he would have done differently is he would have tried to enjoy the experience more. I would put, honestly, 90% emphasis. If you know you're going to be leaving Japan in the near future, I'd put 90% emphasis on just enjoying the stay there, because you can always learn it when you get back, and it's, yeah, honestly, even up to 90, why not? Just enjoy yourself, man. Like, I mean, I'm pretty relaxed. Mind you, what would I have said in my, immersion learn, not AJAT, my immersion learning heyday? I probably would not have said this, but definitely would not have said this. But now maybe I'm way too relaxed. Okay, realistically, if it's a very important goal to you, I would definitely at least make strives at working really hard towards that goal while you're in Japan. But I would definitely still put the majority of my focus on enjoying your time, because at the end of the day, that's what matters, are like experiences and friendships, man. That's what matters. All right, Ethan O'Brien asks, being someone who is producing resources that make using our time with Anki and immersing more efficient, how do you see these resources improving in the coming years, especially with regards to pitch accent, where resources were sorely lacking, and programs to make sentence mining more streamlined? Well, what I'm going to say is that I can't really go into detail, because I am a big proponent of the idea that making your ideas public is going to reduce one's motivation to work on them. But what I'm going to say is that I have been working with Matt very diligently, actually, and making some great plans as far as improving the tool set for immersion language learning overall, and you will see that if you just stay tuned. How did you time box so efficiently? Did you ever time box more than 2 tasks? I always time box 2 tasks. How did I time box so efficiently? I wouldn't always be that efficient, but I would just try to, if I got off task, I would just get back on task. Just try to catch yourself when you go off task. And I mean, pretty much, I don't understand how you can really do time boxing wrong. If you're having trouble doing the task that is considered the work part of the tasks, I would just consider increasing the leisure amount of time that you're giving yourself in between, and slowly try to decrease that as you get further along, and hopefully eventually have them at least even. And another good thing is try to keep the time short. When you really feel like you're burning out, do like a minute of each activity. If you can find something that is sufficiently motivating that you can just do a minute of it, of that leisure activity. I would immerse for like a minute, then I would do a minute of Anki at times. I would get down to that kind of level, and it works. Just it's pretty good. Or another thing you can do is, if you're time boxing something like Anki, I would say you can just time box a certain number, maybe just 10. Like, you can watch a minute of of something, or maybe you can even watch 5 minutes, but then you give yourself a number of cards that you want to review in between. That way you're going to rush through it just to get back to what you want to be doing. But go into more detail in another question in particular, because it's like, I don't know necessarily what you mean, but pretty much just play around with the times until you find something that's okay with you and that you can continue with. And as it becomes more difficult to stay on task, reduce the times and make them smaller, like, the intervals, because that's what I would usually do. Just bring them down all the way until they're like tiny. Okay. And then you can keep the time for the leisure activity longer than the time for actually studying. Okay. Yeah, yoga goes around Walmart speaking Chinese pants. Literally true. Literally true. I have a question. Okay, in Japanese public. Okay, where did you find annoyed dealing with Japanese people? Blah 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 blah. How to deal with the idea of sucking? Just, did I talk about that? I don't remember. Just, it's okay. Just embrace it. Don't worry about sucking, although it can feel negative. I feel like I suck at all my languages now, and actually, to be honest, I mean, comparatively I do, and I definitely, like, overall compared to a native, I definitely do. So I feel kind of really bad about it in a way, but I think it's okay, because see, it's a different thing. I kind of to be honest, for me, it's just, I know, like, because especially now that I'm talking about language learning and stuff, I know people will criticize me. They'll say, oh, well, your languages aren't that good. Oh, yeah, it's because, like, I've made different life choices recently that has led to that, but it's kind of by choice. One has to understand that. And if I have some major coding projects coming up, and once those are finished, which will be a long time from now, mind you. They're very long-term projects. But once they're finished, I'm thinking about devoting more time into language learning again, and because I would like to improve, and I plan on, likely living in Asia in the future, so I would want to at least have similar levels to my peak ability in each language, ideally, or just in Chinese and Japanese. I've decided to just let Portuguese go permanently, guys. It's not... I mean, if I ever need it, I know I can just spend like 2 months and get it back. So I'm just letting it go, because it's just, I can't do everything, right? I'm not omniscient or omnipotent. There, I got it right. I almost said omnipotent. So therefore, yeah, I just kind of, it's a choice. But if you suck and you're actually working hard towards it, then it's just a matter of time before you don't suck as much. So just embrace the reductions in your sucking that you'll slowly experience through time. How would you tackle tones in tonal languages like Chinese? How would I tackle tones? I mean, you just work on listening to Chinese and start hearing it. I think pretty much if you just learn about the tonal system and just make it a goal to always work on learning the tone of every word and every character that you learn, it's only a matter of time before you actually just start hearing the tones pretty naturally, because it's very tied in with just the activity of learning Chinese. But I would say speaking consistently correct tones is definitely hard. But then again, I have an issue which I'll be talking about in my future series on learning Chinese, that I started speaking way too early too. So I may have had more difficulties as a result of that. But I feel that speaking is definitely, with correct tones, is definitely the harder issue than learning to hear the tones. Okay, so yeah, just probably once you once you're comfortably able to hear the tones, practice hearing your own voice, like the tone in your own voice as you speak, I would say. Questions. If you were born butt ugly, would you get plastic surgery? Sure. Probably, dude. I mean, why wouldn't I? If it was that bad, if it was like a shinkoku na mondai, let me, I don't know shinkoku, heiban, shinkoku na mondai, I don't know. Um, the guest this time sucked. Get someone better next time. Yeah, I agree, Jared. I agree. No, I'm joking. Nothing I hate more than a manta ray. Same thing. If you immerse with New Zealand English, you know the difference. Ever notice how humans say similar things sometimes? Yes, they do. Is it just me, or does yoga say mind you a lot? I say mind you. I say you know. I say tons of things. I'm not the most articulate speaker. I could work on it, but I'm probably just gonna code instead. Same with pitch accent. Tone system is easy as fuck compared to pitch accent. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You guys, just wait till I have some time. I'll show you how easy pitch accent is. Easy peasy. But before I go, I just want to say, like, I've done very minor work with pitch accent, and I feel like it's doable at the current moment. But I guess I'll have to see in the future if I ever have enough time to put towards it, mind you. But I'm never gonna take it to where to that level, anyways, because I don't have a desire to. I don't care. I just want to get to like 85%. 90%, something like that. That's fine. Like, I'd rather just spend my time doing interesting activities than learning pitch accent all the time. It's literally fine. I lived in Japan before. I was fine. I was fluent. I was fine. I speak Japanese with my wife. I'm fine. So no real need to spend too much time on that. Alright, guys, I think that's it. Enjoy your lives and enjoy existence on the planet Earth. Sometimes it's rough. Hang in there. Alright. Bye. Yoga mind you. Yeah, mind you. Mind you. You gotta keep it in mind. Yep. So, bye Ningen. I don't have any catchy phrase to put in between your name. So, I'm just gonna call you Ningen. Bye. Question. After getting badass fluent, did people say Nihongo Jozu? I literally don't remember. Probably. They probably just say that by default. Okay. Bye. Bye. Talk to you later, everybody. Bye-bye.